Here we are again for another in our series of interviews with Babette Rothschild, the author of 8 Keys to Safe Trauma Recovery. And we're talking about some of the keys. I noticed one of your keys is stop flashbacks. Can you stop flashbacks? Aren't flashbacks something that people just don't have control over?
Well, they absolutely can be stopped, and people can learn to have control over them, but the nature of a flashback is that it feels out of control, and feels like it's not going to be able to be controlled. You might remember in one of our previous interviews we talked about the nature of post-traumatic stress disorder being the person's out of control, and not only having been out of control when they were traumatized, but out of control of their symptoms. And flashbacks is one of those symptoms that feels really out of control.
Mm-hmm. So does everybody who experiences trauma suffer from flashbacks?
Not necessarily. Usually when one thinks of flashback, it's usually thought of that it's an intense recollection of the trauma with visual and or auditory, meaning sound or sight, features. People see in their mind's eye or hear in their mind's ear the occurrences that happened with the trauma. That's what normally would be thought of as a flashback. Some people have symptoms that involve the memory of the trauma without those visual or sound bits with it. It can be physical symptoms like rapid heart rate and cold sweating, or it can be a reaction like a startle reaction. And some of those can have features of being recollection without being what would technically be termed a flashback. So
it's when somebody's kind of suddenly taken over by something that comes from a past bad experience.
Yes. A typical example would be a war veteran who, upon hearing a car backfire in the here and now, far away from the war-torn place of their trauma, hears a car backfire and are diving under the table as if it was live fire. And they're seeing and hearing what happened in combat. That's a typical example. It's obviously not the only example.
And this can be stopped?
This can be stopped. This can be stopped. One of the most important keys for stopping a flashback is the recognition that a flashback is actually a memory. I've had people question me and say, well, isn't the nature of the term flashback, doesn't that imply it's a memory? Doesn't everybody with post-traumatic stress disorder recognize that a flashback is a memory? And that's the thing about flashbacks. They're so intense in the visuals, the auditory, the physical sensations of them, that people become overwhelmed and convinced that the trauma is actually happening again, or happening still. And so helping people to understand that all that intensity is actually a memory. Not a simple memory, obviously it's a specialized kind of memory. A memory nonetheless can be extremely useful in helping them to stop. There's other things involved in that, but sometimes my just saying to somebody, that's a memory. And when they get that, when they actually understand that what's been going on is a memory, sometimes they're able to, on their own, stop those flashbacks then.
But when someone's in this highly aroused state that a flashback is, how can they remember that good advice?
That it's a memory.
Get stuck with that, yeah.
Yeah. There's steps to it. There's some different protocols and strategies that can be involved in helping build up a person's competence and confidence in recognizing those symptoms when they come on, that they're a memory. and it can be, sometimes they need to be practiced on a regular basis for a period of time. Sometimes people are able to adapt them right away. It's variable.
Yeah.
It's different.
So commonly it's a step-by-step process.
Step-by-step process, and for some people quicker than others.
Sure. Okay, thanks for that, Babette.
Sure.
And we'll talk about some more keys another time.
Thank you.